Okay, welcome again. Simon O'Malley here. And what we'd like to look at in this session is critical reflection. Now, critical reflection, what a weird thing. You're always asked to critically reflect on this, critically reflect on that. Okay, so exactly what does it encompass? And really, reflecting critically, thinking deeply, higher order thinking, reflecting the why, what are the mechanisms, how does the weave of this concept come together? So critical reflection goes beyond surface level conversation to deeper, more explicit understanding for meaningful engagement, in this case in schools and certainly with yourself. So critical reflection is about understanding who you are and how you think and why you think the way you do, and understanding theory to practice and understanding everything that's going on and really pulling it apart. So in this particular example, I want to keep it really accessible. So in this example, we use a fictitious television program to unpack how we can consider critically reflecting. Now, for anyone who's been home during the daytime, ill or something like that, days of our lives, I tried running this concept with, let's see, the ABC Insight program, but too many people whom I teach, too many of my students had no idea what that program was. So then I thought, no, I'll go to something that is more familiar and certainly more accessible to them. So we have this fictitious television program called Roam and Go Away. Like, how beautiful. Let's take a critical reflection journey through that. So where do we start? First, what do we know about a serialized television show? And we'll call this one Roam and Go Away. So where are we? Oh, look, it's got sand and beach and footprints of a disappearing person going into the water, maybe an invisible person, I don't know, and a surfer who, I'm not sure, at first glance looks like they've lost their bathers. Perhaps there's a shark behind them. Who knows? But this is Autumn Bay. It's a little further down the coast from some other popular spot that may be a television show. So what do we know about this program? It shows every day at 7 p.m. It's set in a seaside town. Mr. Bingham is still in it, even though he is deceased in real life. So I don't even know what that means, but perhaps there's an actor who's been there forever, even though they're no longer with us. And what else do we know about the show? It's reasonable to consider that what we're talking about here is surface level appraisal. So in terms of the Solow taxonomy, which you may or may not be familiar with, it doesn't matter. This is unistructural going on to multistructural. What are the concepts? What are the building blocks that underpin it? So it's a surface level thinking here, remembering, perhaps even thinking. But what else do we know about the show? What actually happens in the show? And who does this? And how often does it happen? Are there themes in the show? So it's reasonable to suggest that what we've got is, let's see, it's got boy meets girl, or girl meets boy, or girl meets girl, or boy meets boy, or let's suggest that person meets person. So two people meet and there's frisson, there's energy or some sort of spark between them. And person meets person, there's chemistry. They're attracted for any reason at all, like maybe they both knit. I can't believe that you do gorilla knitting. I've seen your work on a park bench and around trees and it's beautiful. This is fantastic. Trevor, like we're made for each other, says Margaret or whomever. So there's a prospect of joy and of happiness. You can feel it every time you see it. They do things together and they arrange to continue to meet. Then a third party comes along. Person meets person meets person. So new person likes one or both of the other persons. And their strategies and games are played out to discourage or encourage various models of the dynamic. And it's just this little melting pot of young people and older people who are young at heart. Or we'll get to that. So there's machinations and intrigue. And do you take sides? And if you do, whose side do you take? Or do you just bury your head in the sand? It's a cliffhanger every episode. No. It stops. I can't believe it. The program itself, it stops. So it's been running, and I've watched all of this thing, and it stops. Now I have to watch it again tomorrow to find out what happens again. Every day I have to watch it tomorrow to find out what happens. Man, it's a roller coaster. It drives me mad. So will Charlene ever get Tony? Will the picnic area ever be safe again? And who knows why? Will people be able to cycle around on the beach because someone's come up with new beach cycling tires? Let's consider, so this is all thinking, yeah? So let's consider a critical reflection of Rome and Go Away. So the program airs at prime time or dinner time or family time, yeah? So it airs at this family time, this community time, and provides social modelling for how people could consider behaving. And you can see this is often acted out in public. Like, man, 1,000,000 times a day you will see this acted out in public. The character construct an emotional and psychological drama in which tensions, rewards, and consequences are played out. Typical Karpman triangle. So victim, persecutor, rescuer. And then all of a sudden the persecutor goes, but you made me do it. So they become the victim and they're looking for someone else to rescue. So the dynamic, it's beautiful. The dynamic keeps moving around. So it's unstable for you to... Well, it encourages you to take sides and to justify actions and reactions and consequences. The triadic theme is regular, so no one can understand that it's food for dysfunctional relationships. Because these things keep moving, it keeps the energy, it keeps all of that dialogue, it keeps all of that action and reaction alive. So it is food for dysfunctional relationships. They're often immature behaviours and actions of the characters involved, provides a little chance for restorative practice to learn and grow emotionally or psychologically through their characters' experiences. So in real life, people apologise, people accept what they've done, and they learn and they move on. But in this show, in My Rome and Go Away, no, they don't do that. They keep it dysfunctional so that it keeps that tension and that undercurrent of intrigue and sometimes Machiavellian play. And it's fair to say that the behaviour models or supports miscommunication, overreaction, and juvenile approaches to problem-solving skills. It does not. It does too. Yes, it does. And so here you have people acting out in really juvenile ways which they should have modelled and grown out of whilst they were in early primary school. So in terms of critical reflection, one could ask, what has this to do with my life? How does this reflect my personal relationships? How do I deal with others when my treatment of them mirrors dysfunctional relating? So if I'm behaving like this, what do I do? How do I feel when others, my partner, my friends, family, colleagues, treat me as disrespectfully as the characters in the show? Like, now, this is the show and real life. What's the reflection there? Like, and how do I feel about that? Are there alternative ways to reconcile restorative practices that will enable healthy relating with the self and others? So you can see we are no longer surface level thinking here. This is critical reflection. We are actually getting to the nuts and bolts of what's going on. And restorative practice, just to go back over that, restorative practice is How can I restore my good name? How can I restore my good faith to the people I have hurt or offended? And similarly, how will they do that to me if they're the offenders? So it's reasonable to suggest that if one is experiencing disrespectful and or game-playing relationships in one's life that are similar to the show, you should get up, turn off the television, and go for a walk. You should be human beings in the world. Yeah? Nice. Fresh air, good thinking. If one does not receive the love and respect a reasonable, functional relationship should be expected to offer, and that's hurtful and critical for some people. If that's the case, then one needs to find new friends, partners, or others. Healthy people build healthy communities. Yeah? Life is not the television show. So it's reasonable to suggest that the fictitious television show Roman Go Away models examples of personal relating that are complicit in engineering an addictive interest in and viewing pattern in the broader television audience by resolving or not resolving personal conflicts in emotive ways. Yeah? Yeah. And that this is one example of critical reflecting. What are the impacts for me in my world, in the close community, in the broader community, in the larger community and political community, and further, like globally? What are the impacts of this behaviour and this childish thinking for whole communities, for whole countries, for the concept of all peoples loving and respecting everybody at the same time? Right? Like that's where it cuts down to. So in terms of this, like critical reflection, yes, that's a really good, we'll go back to that one, actually. Critical reflection is a really good way to pull all of this apart. But if you want to really critically reflect on this, it comes down to the television show is shown in timely increments that then allows for almost the same amount of time for advertising. Yeah? And that television advertising generates a mere $4 billion a year. So there's big money in it. The sponsors, they want to see bang for their buck. They want to see television time for it. So the TV people, it's in their interest to make addictive programs so that you must watch them, so that consequentially you will watch the advertisements for they're getting paid for. They're not being paid for the program. Yeah? $4 billion just from television advertising, $12.5 billion from advertising in 2016 in Australia. So this is the thing. When we're looking at critical reflection, to understand that we go deeper and deeper and deeper, yeah? Beyond surface level conversation to deeper, more explicit understanding for meaningful engagement, yeah? For schools, for yourself, for communities, for people. Thank you very much. Ci vediamo. Ciao. See you for the next one. All right.